But what does it mean? Congratulations, Slender the 8 Pages. You are now officially 10 years old. You can now understand stranger danger. I feel like that doesn't apply here. The original Slender the 8 Pages released on June 26, 2012 by developers Parsec Productions. It was meant to be an experimental demo of what a Slender game could be, which would then be fully realized by Slender the Arrival a year later. But what was supposed to be a beta was then turned into one of the most popular games of that summer, which is saying a lot because that was the year that gave us Far Cry 3 and Black Ops 2. But the thing that made Slender more accessible than those games was that it was free and it wasn't graphically intensive. Anyone could play it and anyone could run it, including me. I remember downloading that game that summer as a kid, and I could not play it. I could only go through the first few pages without closing the game out of fear. But that didn't stop me watching other people play it, which is one of the other main factors of this game blowing up. It blew up so many popular YouTubers during that time that virtually anybody can have their videos blow up just by playing this game.
Slenderman, come rescue us! We're trapped!
It was the game that made Slenderman popular. Even though he was officially created in 2009 and Marble Hornets coming out that same year, people recognized Slenderman because of the game. 10 years later, no one cares about him anymore, which is tragic, because I remember this guy being everywhere during the 2010s, and now he's just not there anymore. So I wanted to take a trip down memory lane and see what made Slenderman so popular. So without further ado, hi, I'm Kai, nice to meet ya, and let's take a look back at Slender the 8 Pages, or as I used to know it as, Slender. And that's all the setup you get for this game. Something I appreciate about this game is that it has no story to find. It has no lore like a lot of other indie horror games. Not to say that it's bad to have a story in a horror game, I just personally like when a horror game just gets straight to the gameplay and doesn't need me to watch a ton of cutscenes to know why I should be scared. When you started the game, you go through the intro, boom, nature. We don't even know anything about the character we're playing as until the sequel came out. But even then, all we know is that the character's name is Kate. I wonder what she's doing in the sequel. I like the simplicity. It kinda goes in hand with how simple the game is. And it also works because Slenderman doesn't really need a story. Your goal is to collect the 8 pages located all around the forest, and they can randomly spawn in one of 10 locations. Spooky Tree, Red Truck Blue Edition plus trailer, Pillar, The Walls of Jesus, Tunnel, those trees you ground pound on Mario 64, a series of tubes, the worst place in the entire game, and rocks. These locations are visually distinct enough from everything else in the forest to let you know that, hey, they'll probably have a page on them. Which I think is an important aspect to highlight because this forest is dense. Like, if you try to step foot outside of the path once, you will get turned around very easily. Hell, I think even if you stay in the path, you'll somehow get turned around. Like, I'd first go to the trees, then go to the blue trucks, then the red truck, then the tunnel, then I went to the bathroom, then the tanks, and then somehow ended up at the tunnel again. I shrug it off, go through the tunnel, get the other pages, and then after a little bit, I end up at the tunnel again.
Where the f*** am I?
Eventually I get so turned around and I end up in the same places over and over again, I end up getting a game over because I guess Slendy got tired of my shit. So let me give you some advice. If you are ever thinking of replaying this game, get a map. Download it, put it on your second monitor, put it on your third monitor. If you don't have multiple monitors, get it on your phone. If you don't have a phone, print it off, laminate that bitch, hang it on your wall. Point is, you will need it. With how unfair the game can get at times, it is pretty much essential to your survival. And you can download it in the description, cause I like you guys and I don't want you to suffer. Like me. One of my attempts, I already collected 7 pages, and I was just hunting for the last one. And I was having so much trouble trying to find it cause I was always getting turned around and ending up in places that I already visited. And for some reason, Slenderman was always behind me, never trying to teleport or trying to get the jump on me. And my only guess on why he didn't kill me was that he thought me going to the same tunnel 50 times was the funniest thing in the world. That dick. But if you don't want to download a map, you can always press the M key, which is supposed to pull up a map in-game. I said it's supposed to, it didn't mean it worked. Alright, pop quiz. What made Slenderman so scary in 2012? It was the unknown. The reason why I was scared of Slenderman was not his appearance, because come on, I know some guys that look like that. It was the mystery surrounding him. Where did he come from? Why is he dressed like a normal man? What does he want? We don't know. The unpredictability of Slenderman is what made him so intriguing. Like, he doesn't just straight up kill people, he stalks them, making them slowly go insane. until he feels like killing them, or worse. And I think the implementation of him in this game is pretty accurate to how he actually works. He doesn't start hunting you until you collect one page or you take too long finding one and he gets bored. And he gets more aggressive the more pages you collect. Everything else in his AI is completely random. There is no predicting this guy. Every movement he makes is up to him and God. He could hunt you down aggressively, or he could be watching you behind a tree. You don't know. And this erratic behavior works especially well when he's trying to fuck with you. Like those moments when he's hiding behind a bunch of trees far away and like you think you see him, but like you also don't. Or when your screen starts turning into static and you can't see him so you start panicking for a few seconds. It just adds to that fear and paranoia that's all caused by one monster. How many horror games do you know where all of the scares are revolved around one creature? Don't answer that, I'm not trying to look stupid. But due to this erratic behavior, it can cause the game to be actually impossible. An example of this involves the worst area in the game, the restroom. With it being such a linear area and with very few exits, it is incredibly common to have Slendy just trap you in there. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, pack your shit up, your run's over. Knowing that fact makes this area so stressful for me. There are like very few areas in video games that make me break out in a cold sweat like the restrooms in Slender. It was even worse for me back then because I just refused to go in there. I remember one time I actually went in there and I got a page and I just like left my computer and just waited for my death. So here's my second advice if you're ever gonna play this game. Go to the restroom first. I know the map in the description says to go to the silo first. Nope, ignore that, go to the restroom first. You don't want to go in there when you have like one page or God forbid more than 4. You don't need that kind of stress in your life. So if you ever take something away from this video, go to the restroom first before doing anything else. That could also be applied to life, so you're welcome. Now I know I just confessed that the bathroom terrifies me. Slenderman himself isn't really all that scary anymore, especially since I know that this is what his model looks like in game. He looks like something I'd find in a Roblox creepypasta. How am I supposed to be scared of this? And funny enough, he isn't the only bad looking thing about this game. There's also this game. I know this is like a free game released in 2012, but come on! It is not a stretch to say that literally everything in this game looks bad. The ground, the trees, the grass. I can count the polygons in this truck, it's actually insane. And I don't know if it's just me, but this game does not run good on fantastic settings. Like I have the graphics on the highest setting and there's still constant stutters. And I don't know if it's the game or my PC, cause if it's my PC,
wow, that's kinda sad.
But I think this is all made up for with the terrible flashlight. Normally in any other game this would be an insult, but in a horror game, a blessing in disguise. When you turn off your flashlight, total darkness. You cannot see a thing in front of you, not even pages. But when you do use the flashlight, you can barely see anything in it, which is perfect for making you paranoid for what you can and can't see. But even if the visuals aren't up to par with today's standards, I think the game really shines in its audio design. First, before you pick up any pages, there's no music. All you hear is the crunching of your shoes and the ambience of the forest. Then after you collect one page, the ambience is now accompanied by a low heartbeat. And the more pages you collect, the more the ambience starts building up. You start hearing the wind blowing. More sounds keep getting piled on. All of this with Slenderman accompanied with his own sound effects. Whenever Slenderman starts getting close to you, you start hearing and seeing static. And whenever he's right behind you, you hear a loud that still gets me to this day. I truly believe that it was the sound design and the lack of visuals that made this game so terrifying to play. But you want to know what the worst part of this game is? Actually playing it. We all had fun watching our favorite YouTubers get scared, and we might have tried this game out for a few times, but actually trying to play it, it is impossible. There are numerous things that are stacked against you, like first your walking speed. This might be the slowest character I have ever controlled in anything. It's not even a walk, it's more like a shuffle, like she's building up static electricity or something. When you hold sprint, you start to run, or as I like to call it, walking. But there are numerous downsides to sprinting. Like in most horror games, you can't run forever, so you have like a stamina bar. You can't see it, but you have it. I don't know what it is, but it takes forever to gain it back. But not only that, the more you use your stamina, your maximum stamina slowly goes down, which basically means the more you run, the less you can run. The good thing is whenever Slendy's behind you, you get a small boost to your speed, which is like actual running speed. But I haven't even mentioned the biggest downside yet. Whenever you start sprinting, your flashlight, which is normally pointed forward, is pointed down, and if you remember what I said, everything is pitch black. And the flashlight's weird on its own. Whenever you turn it off, it makes it harder for Slenderman to see you, which is nice, but the downside to this is that eventually it will die on you. You don't have a bar that'll tell you when, it just does. So it is commonly cited that the best way to play this game is that for the first 4 pages, you don't run and you use your flashlight very rarely. They also added fog into the game, which makes it even harder to see. Third piece of advice, turn that shit off! So let's recap. Your walking speed is slow. Your stamina can decrease. You can't see anything when you're sprinting. Your flashlight can die on you. If you don't have a map, you will get lost. And you are constantly running from a guy who at any moment can end your run in an instant. All of this piled together, and you can see why to this day, I have never beaten this game. Like, I want to get this shit out before the end of next Halloween, you know what I mean? Whenever I used to watch Markiplier play this game, I always wondered why he never beat this game. How come? It can't be that bad. It is. It's that bad. I have a personal theory that I don't know if it's true or not, I don't know, but like anytime I had to like start over to get more footage, I just kept on thinking about it more and more. Slender, the 8 pages, was not meant to be beaten. I sound like a sore loser. I am, but with the game that has this many things going against you, plus an enemy that can teleport behind you at any moment, there's no way. The only reason people beat this game was because they were lucky. It's like how the only way people can beat 420 mode in FNAF 1 was if Freddy was feeling generous. And if you still don't believe me, after you collect your final page, the music stops, and then Slenderman gets you anyway. After he gets you, you wake up in the daytime version of the forest, boom, roll credits. That is the updated ending. On older versions after Slendy gets you, that's it, roll credits, fuck you. Like, it just feels like Slenderman was supposed to win. This is just my theory, but I feel like the updated ending was added because the developer noticed people were beating it. Again, this is just a theory, I mean no disrespect to any developers, I am a computer science major, I know how much of a bitch it is to program. But come on, this game is like ridiculously hard for no reason. But hey, if you are a masochist and you did beat the game, congratulations, you unlocked daytime mode. The first thing you notice when playing daytime mode, wow, this game is hideous. Also, you have no flashlight, which is nice, but it also means since it's daytime, Slenderman can easily see you now. It takes away a lot of the fear factor in the game, but I'm pretty sure if you did unlock this mode, you're not scared of the game anymore, let's be real here. But let's say you beat daytime mode. Congratulations! You get a couple new things depending on which version you're playing, like the Marble Hornets mode. This changes a lot of things. The intro is completely different, there's now static borders at the top and bottom of the screen. It's now much harder to see, and the page counter is removed. Also, when Slenderman's hunting you, there's no audio cues anymore. Static's still there, just won't hear anything. So yes, the Mad Lads added a hard mode. I'm not sure what you get when you beat this mode, because I'm gonna be honest, I cheated to get all the modes, I'm not beating any of these. You also get new light sources, like the glow stick, which is just a flashlight, but worse. So hey, if you do manage to beat Marble Hornets mode with the glow stick, then congrats, you don't get anything new, but now Slenderman fears you. And then we have the crank lantern, which at first is better than the flashlight, but when the light starts slowly dying on you, you just gotta take a moment to just... But I have been saving the best mode for last, a mode so legendary that it was only in a few versions of the game before it was taken out. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, I present to you the $20 mode. When you start the mode, everything is basically the same, except for one change. Whenever Slendy gets close to you, this plays. Should I risk the copyright? I'm gonna risk the copyright.
Give me $20, no wifing in the club. Give me $20, give me $20, give me $20, no wifing in the club.
It's just so amazing. And that is basically everything to this game. The only thing I didn't talk about was that you can access the Slenderman mythos in the main menu, which is a nice addition. But that was Slender the 8 pages. And even though I did talk about everything there is to do within the game, there's still one more aspect I haven't covered. Everything outside of the game. The legacy this game had is astonishing. I mentioned that this brought Slenderman into the mainstream, but you underestimate how popular this guy was after the game released. Countless big media was referencing him in some way.
You guys ever hear of the Slender Man?
Even the creator of Minecraft, Hatsune Miku, created a new mob inspired by the Slenderman, the Enderman. Okay, I know this happened before the game release, but Slenderman was still gaining notoriety before this. And like, come on, look at him. This skinny man basically ruled the internet for like the entirety of 2012. It was basically Five Nights at Freddy's before Five Nights at Freddy's. Hell, some popular things today are in reference of him in some way, like Baldi's Basics, which is the same gameplay loop, but the concept is more fleshed out and has more things you have to avoid. And like creatures like Siren Head, which is basically the same thing as Slenderman. Even though the impact of this character and this game are still felt today, both of these things barely get mentioned today. And like, I get it, it's been a few years since they had anything new happen to them, and whenever something new happens, it's usually pretty bad. But after 10 years, I want people to think back fondly of this game. Not anything of the gameplay aspect, but how the game has amazing sound design, or how the game turned its bad visuals into creepy atmosphere, or how they managed to make a perfectly accurate Slenderman in a video game. So overall, even though for me this game can be frustrating to complete, it still manages to be unsettling even 10 years later.
And it was one of those things where I had to stop, go download Slender the 8 pages and play it again. It was like a burst of nostalgia, but then I realized I was still scared of it.
And who knows, maybe in a few months I'll be covering Slender the Arrival's 10-year anniversary, and we'll see how much this game ended up carrying over to the sequel. Also, I didn't know how to fit this in the video, but while I was recording footage for like the Arrival, I found this glitch. I didn't even know that he had a walking animation. I thought that was kind of— Jesus fucking